If you wanted to take over the world, how would you do it? What would be your strategy?
Cult leader. I would definitely use religion for sure. I'd get some people involved. I'd brainwash them, get somebody to be a martyr.
You have experience
Come
with this,
back on
though,
the
right?
third day. I mean,
What about you, Aaron? What would you do?
I mean, I would clearly make it drugs. I would legalize all drugs, but all drugs have to be gotten from the government. And we're saying it so you can get it clean, but in reality, we're just bringing everyone to us.
That's a good idea.
okay.
There's this book called The Uglies. It's a young adult novel, and they have a really good idea. So what they do is...
I thought it was your family album.
I thought it was like Bumpin' Uglies, but anyway.
In the book Uglies, it's a young adult novel. At the age of 16, they become they're given a surgery where they become really attractive. And so this young woman she's about to turn 16, she gets in trouble, and so she's not allowed to have the surgery. And at first she's really pissed about not having the surgery. And then she realizes that actually when they make you pretty, they also make you stupid and pliant. And so like that was like if I was to take over the world,
Cosmetic surgery.
I would make people become pretty and stupid, and then I could be whatever they want.
You had me at pretty and stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
That's normally how it goes anyway, but you do get the pretty brilliant person every now and again.
Yeah.
As well,
That's true.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
as per me. No, I'm just
Yeah.
like-
What would you do, Dwayne?
Well, I think my method is tried and true. I would start a 24-hour news
Oh, okay.
show,
Yeah.
Okay.
and just we would sort of do a what do you call that? Like a market study, like a focus group. You know, so we would kind of know where people were leaning and kind of give them a little bit of that to get them in. But then 24 hours, just to the point where they wouldn't doubt anything we say. Yeah, and then after that, I could take over the world. I mean, I could do whatever I want. At that point, I could.
My parents would
say
love you.
Elections. I could say elections are rigged. I can stage an assassination. Anything I want at that point.
This was taped in 2023.
Welcome. This is season 4, episode 5 of the award-winning Unofficial Official Story. I'm Kat.
I'm Dwayne.
And I am Koji.
And this is where we tell you the official story. We look at the paranormal, conspiracies, unexplained phenomena, cryptids, and true crime, and by the end, we'll tell you what really, maybe, happened.
If you like the podcast, please share it with your friends, family, and even your enemies. You'll be doing a lot to help us keep bringing exciting and fun content every month.
In August, we celebrate the anniversary of the personal computer, and we're asking a very important question. Does Bill Gates want to control the population?
But first, let's introduce our guest, Aaron Marsh. Aaron is a stand-up comedian and a podcast host. He hosts the show Putting Up with Aaron Michael Marsh. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.
How are you
And
guys?
gal. Good. Today's good. I mean, was there a lot more to that question?
It's like athletes, they learn to just answer the question.
Yeah. I was like doing like Tom Brady. Good. Tomorrow's also going to be good.
So what is your podcast about?
My podcast, well, it started as an interview podcast. I recognized, or I grew up thinking I was just too much for everybody. And so like it was just like, these are my friends that put up with me. How about that? Isn't that cool? And it has transformed now into pretty much like my therapy and what I'm learning about myself and learning about my bad wiring and my rewiring.
What are some of the bad wires?
Oh, I mean, I'm terribly codependent, you know? And so like there's just like...
Is that bad?
Oh, yeah. If it wasn't, people would like try to like look for codependence.
So does that make you like a serial monogamist or something like that, or?
There's some of that. You would think that. I mean, I know codependency just sounds like, oh, I just love being in a relationship, but codependency is really about the amount of yourself you give up just for other people.
Interesting.
So that's really what it's about. It's like it's almost like everyone else's life is more important to me than my own.
Right.
And that's where the problem becomes. Because now that like you're 40 and you're like, okay, wait a second, I didn't do a lot of the things I wanted to do, but I helped a lot of my friends get the things they wanted.
Right.
And then you go, wait, that's not right.
Everybody is, hopefully, right? Everybody's the main character in their story.
I haven't been yet.
And you haven't been. You've been like the next door neighbor, but what's your story? Who's your next door neighbor? You know what I mean? All the
Yeah.
scene should be about you, and there's some guy running in every now and again saying something crazy.
Especially if it's my diary. It's like looking
Right.
at my diary and you're like, I didn't even show up in this.
Right.
Oh my
right.
gosh, it's like you've been an NPC this whole
That's what I was
time,
gonna
and
say.
you're
Exactly.
like waking
Right,
up.
right.
And that's
Like,
exactly what the last year felt like. Is like I was like, oh, I don't have to go check in with other people to figure out what today is going to be. It's for me now, and so that's really where codependency is bad. Is you lose yourself just out there in the world because you think that's
Right.
what being a best person is.
Right. But is it also a little bit of avoidance, so you don't have to deal with your own thing, or whatever?
I didn't have avoidance, but that is half of it. Like
Okay.
codependency's got multiple sides to it, and I don't have the other.
I see.
That reminds me of something that happened to me when I was younger, like 19, and in a super serious relationship for 4 years. When I got out of it, people would be like, "What do you want to eat?" And I'd be like, "What do you want to eat?"
Yeah, exactly
I don't know
that.
what I want. What's okay to want? Well, you can choose
Exactly.
whatever you feel like. You can dress however you want. You can make your choices. Like,
I would literally call my cousin and ask her what I wanted for lunch, and she lives in Texas, and it was just like, and she'd be like, this, and she would like, and bless her heart, but I'm also like allergic to cheese or whatever. You're like, I'm not really gonna buy this, but I'm gonna tell her, and maybe she'll feel good about that, and then I'll just actually get what I want. And so like, it's just getting rid of all of that stuff. Well, it's because growing up in my house, the higher power was whoever my dad was currently married to, and so as long as they were happy, everything's good. Doesn't matter what anyone else's feelings
so
are.
it's everybody else bowing down.
And so
to some
yeah, and
other
so
person.
everything we had to do was just project whatever she needed for her
Right,
happiness.
right. Did he set that up, or did he meet people who were like that?
Well, my grandparents were like that, and so then therefore my
Interesting.
You
my
learn
uncle
a
and my
pattern.
father, they made their house that, and now like that I'm like the one person not married. Like my brothers and sister made their houses like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting, and I didn't realize until getting out of a relationship that I was like, I did that wrong, and like started to like dig down, and then you're like, oh no, I did all relationships, not just like romantic ones, but like friendships and family relationships wrong too.
So what's the process like to feel that and fix yourself?
It's the first couple months are actually scary. You literally go through withdrawals, much like a drug addict, and they tell you that. Like I got cold shakes. I didn't sleep for like a couple weeks. I lost a lot of weight. I'm like way less now still than I did last year by a lot, and you're just like, what? And it's like all of a sudden you doubt doing something for yourself. And so I'm still like doing that. Like yesterday, like I was like pacing because it was like, I couldn't figure out what I really wanted, and it was just like, and who do I check in with to figure out what I want? And you're like, check in with yourself, stupid.
That's
Also calling myself stupid, like that
Right.
toxic inner voice.
It's like you said, rewiring, but you really can't like physically rewire. So it sounds like you have to change your operating system.
You do? Is that a great lead-in? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, maybe we don't have to go yet, but maybe.
It was funny because when you were talking about that, I remember before I got married, I was when I dated a lot of Asian women, and when I dated Asian women, they would tell me what I'm going to wear, who my friends were, what I was going to eat, and then when I started dating non-Asian women, like Caucasian women, they would like expect me to come up with these things, and it was very shocking to me. I was like, I couldn't handle it. I was like, wait, you want me to make a decision? Like this is kind of your job to make the decision for me. And I kind of just go along. But it was funny because the Asian women would never just tell me the thing. I'd be in a relationship for like a month, and all of a sudden my clothes are different. And then and all these things, and then all of a sudden I just didn't realize it, and then all of a sudden like everything's changed, and then you break up, and then like you have new friends, and you're
It's
like
a part of the process is
Yeah.
learning what your true self is and what you really do or don't like.
Yeah.
So I think one of the shocking things for me was if you asked me a couple years ago, you're like, what's your favorite thing? You're like, I love the Chicago Cubs. Like I had Chicago Cubs, like everything. And then to realize that I just like that because it's what my family liked. And like, it's just like, oh, I'm not
Well, you
really...
didn't switch to the White Sox, did you? That's,
No, I switched to not watching sports.
right.
Oh, okay.
That would be bananas.
Well, it was because it would be like that's the conversations my family would have with each other,
Right,
strictly about
right.
sports,
Okay.
and so like it was like so I'd watch sports to have conversation with family, and then
Right,
realize
right.
like that's not a thing I want.
Well, I did the kind of the fake lead, and I was kind of teasing. I couldn't resist. But also, if you're like that, part of it is that don't you attract people who want to pounce? Because it's like,
Oh yeah,
That's exactly
if you are
Yeah.
acting like prey, you attract predators.
yeah. Like
A million percent.
I'm pretty reasonable, but I do get a fair amount of like people that are a bit much. And like I notice all my friends who are annoying, their numbers blocked. And it's like, you must know you're annoying on some level. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like you attract
That's
that.
100%. In fact,
Yeah.
if I could plug my podcast for a second,
Yes.
I
Yes,
just
yes.
released 3 episodes this weekend, a little trilogy of this stuff.
Oh, nice.
Where the first one was about my child abuse. The second one was about how that groomed me perfectly for abusive relationships. And so like that became like, that was the second part, was like, that's when I noticed that it was a thing I needed to actually care about. Because it was like, who cares if I was abused as a child? I'm an adult now with my own place. And you're like, because I'm just finding only abusive relationships. So therefore that's why I need to undo it. And then the third part is about the process of undoing it.
Yeah, I can relate to the whole thing because I have very critical parents, like just nothing, but they're like tiger mom type of a situation. But what that did, and it's nothing like child abuse, like it's not to the degree that other people experience.
Right.
But still, having highly critical parents has set me up so that if I'm with a partner and I'm dating and they're highly critical to the point of maybe even being emotionally abusive or whatever, I don't even notice. Like I had a boyfriend who made me try on all my pants so he could tell me which ones gave me fupa, and then I donated the ones that did.
Oh, wait, it just in one sitting you have to try on all your pants?
Yeah.
Yeah, a shame cycle. That sounds great.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Giant
Can I date
bullet
him next?
dodged. Oh yeah, he made me like reorganize all my closets, my cabinets, like my spice rack was like alphabetized. Like
Wow.
he made me do it. But I didn't even notice because it's familiar. I'm like, oh, you're acting like my mother.
Right,
This
right,
is
right,
how I
right.
am loved.
I would fall prey if someone needed me, and even if they needed me more than a grown up.
I have the misrepresentation of what is a need.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. You're just like, if I can make myself a need in that situation, which just makes me a servant. You're like, how can I serve this person?
Right,
And like,
right.
because then I'll become a need, and then they'll have to keep me in their life.
Right.
But what about finding ways to be needed that you're cool with? Because
That's the interesting part. Because like people are just like, what's the difference between codependency and being nice and just like doing a thing? At what point are you like abandoning yourself? And you're like, at the point that you recognize that you are hurting yourself.
Interesting.
Because a lot of the behaviors, I think, if it was just one thing, that like, oh yeah, I do that because I love my wife. It's not a problem. It's not a problem if it's not a problem. It's once you notice that there's a problem, and then you start to look around, and like you're causing all these problems by putting yourself in these
So
scenarios.
I would say like a healthy thing, example, I'm currently seeing someone who likes to write short stories. So I like it
There's
when
a
he
problem.
You should break
That
up with
makes
him.
sense.
That bastard.
That makes no money. That's like the worst writing you could possibly do.
That's
You
not
Asian
exact-
mommed the whole thing.
maybe other than maybe poetry.
Are those short stories lawyers?
Look, that's not his main occupation.
Okay,
It's a
okay.
hobby, okay?
Got it.
What I like to do that's nice for him is I'll listen to the short stories. Sometimes I give notes. It feels nice to do something like that, like reading
Right.
or listening to someone's creative stuff, because I enjoy it, and then also they like it.
Right,
So
right.
that's not codependent, right?
But
no,
also,
if you guys are both enjoying it, then you're just having a good time.
Right? That's
Yeah.
just how a relationship works.
but I do think that there's a point in a child's life when you realize that you're not the main character. That's an important like moment in a kid's life, that they realize that there's not the center of the universe.
Oh,
and
okay.
because that's empathy, right? Realizing that there are other people out there. But I think it goes bad when you're not, when you can never be the main character, because
Right.
everyone has to be a main character at some point.
It's an ebb and
Absolutely.
flow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when does that transition happen is a key thing.
That's if the parent lets it happen.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
they have
Because sometimes the parent doesn't. I mean, you say they have to. They should.
No, I mean they should. Sorry, they should. For a
Right,
normal
right.
development, you want them
Yeah,
to realize.
but
that
there's a
it's-
plenty of parents that
Oh,
are just like,
100%.
no, your
You're the
job is
most
to serve
important.
me. I'm the
Right.
mom.
Either that or you're the center of the universe.
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
bad
That's the
too.
opposite problem.
But see, in Brooklyn, and I'm sure any inner city, even LA, like you naturally realize you're not the center. Like you may think you're the center of everything, and then you go to school and someone slaps you, and then you're like, oh, I don't think I'm the center. This guy just punched me in the face.
Okay, well, let's get the story straight once and for all.
Yep, let's do it.
Word.
If you've never used a Microsoft product, Windows, Bing, LinkedIn, Skype, or an Xbox, you've probably heard of Bill Gates. Gates is the co-founder of Microsoft, an influential philanthropist, and one of the richest men in the world. Gates' net worth is over 128 billion. That's a billion with a B. As of 2024, and he has vowed to give away 99.96 of his wealth through his charity, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which advances education and public health initiatives around the globe.
So, why would anyone think that Bill Gates wants to control the population? The most common accusations against Gates are that he, one, is a pedophile billionaire who wants to block out the sun. Okay. Two.
That sounds like a Simpsons episode, by the way.
The actual son?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
I know.
Two.
I'm like, okay.
Two, he wants to implant chips into our brains. That sounds like something related to to end times theology. 3, control the population through vaccines. And 4, remove the spiritual part of our brains.
How do you remove the spiritual part?
With the chip.
With the chip. With
Well-
the COVID shot.
Well, that's the thing. It's some people say that fluoride kind of blocks your third eye, kind of pineal gland, which is your sense of like
Intuition.
By the way, pineal
and
gland sounds
psychic.
dirty.
I know. I may not be saying it right, but but that calcifies because of fluoride.
Which is why I never brush my teeth.
Yeah, smart
Or
man.
drink any water.
Yeah, right.
Gross.
That's a lot. What was just said. I mean, we can just. I'll come back to all of that. So, while his donations to charity are staggering, an article by CCN says that Bill Gates has some red flags hiding in those deep
By the way,
pockets.
it's CCN, not CNN.
No, I said CCN.
No, I'm not saying that you know.
Right.
I'm just making it clear that it's not CNN, which would be a.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I get all my news from CCN. I don't know about you
Well,
guys.
he probably already. They already have the chip, so they couldn't say anything
Well,
against
this
him.
is funny because my wife went to Johns Hopkins, and I always want to start an online university, John Hopkins.
That's hilarious.
Smart.
An online
That's
degree.
money. Yes.
But it's cool if you go, John Hopkins.
You know, people often bring me on stage as Dwayne Perkins instead of Dwayne Perkins. It's just easier to say, so that'd be great.
And then nobody would know. I mean, no one knows that there's S's in that a lot of times. They're just okay, you went to John Hopkins, cool.
People read fast. They just like skimming. Like, okay, John Hopkins. Yeah.
I would wear that shirt.
Yeah. Or you can call it John Hopkins South.
Oh, yeah. They do
John
that a
Hopkins
lot.
with an S, period.
That's really funny.
Corbett report states Gates philanthropy. There we go.
We
Sorry
can
about
edit
that.
these.
We can edit it. Or don't edit it. Maybe people need to hear me say it wrong.
Yeah.
The Corbett report states that Gill's
Philanthropy.
is heartily selfless. He generously donates to causes that directly benefit his family and his business interests by giving hundreds of millions of dollars to corporations he holds stocks and bonds. Gates' unique brand of philanthropy also affords him unprecedented power in the field of global public health. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is the second largest donor to the World Health Organization, right behind the U.S. government.
I mean, there is a lot of truth to that. So, I mean, one of the issues that they were having in the beginning of the foundation was that they were invested in companies that were the opposite of the work they were doing. So, for example, like this is an example. This is not what was happening, but like say there's polluted water in Africa. They were invested in the companies that were polluting the water. So then they realized that they had to, for their endowment, they had to actually.
No, look at my finger.
Oh, it's a
Floating spider.
Yeah, can we take care of it, or do we have to just act like it's not there?
I gotta act like it's not there.
What, I can't kill it. Are you Buddhist? What's happening?
You could kill it.
Okay, good.
Right.
Did I get it? I don't even know if I got it. Oh boy, this is gonna be challenging. All right, I'll
Let's just say you got it.
Let's say I got
We'll
it.
pretend
yeah.
you got it.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was like one of the.
It's bigger. It's bigger. No, I'm just kidding.
I think we're going to leave this in.
Yeah,
We're
we
gonna
have to
leave the
totally
spider
do
in.
this. Yeah.
No, but the whole thing about Bill Gates and his funding is there's also a lot of tax benefits he gets. So it's, he's giving all this money, but he's also getting it back in a way.
Right.
And getting taxpayer money to also fund a lot of what the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is doing because it's money he's not paying taxes on by putting it into the foundation. There's a book, sorry to go on too long.
No, it's okay.
I was listening to a podcast on QAnon Anonymous, but they had a guest, Tim Schwab, who wrote a book called The Bill Gates Problem, Reckoning with the Myth of the Good Billionaire. And it goes way in depth into some of Bill Gates' more shady elements in terms of his giving. Because he also gets access to a lot of intellectual property. Like if it's a pharmaceutical company that he's donating to, then the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gets a lot of say into how they go about developing this drug and also prioritizing the drugs they want developed and not other ones that maybe those would save more lives, but he has his agenda.
And I don't know if he's doing exactly everything on this list, but the best indicator of what someone will do is what they have done. And it's just crazy that like in like 75, 76, 77, when, personal computers are just coming into kind of existence. He's like 20. He's born in 55, so he's like 20, 21, and like the first personal computer is introduced, and it's like not even a computer as we think of today. It's like hobbyists, people who are into computers. You buy it, you put it together.
Yeah.
And then for him at that point to be like, I'm going to start a company, and his goal was everyone in America is going to have one of these. That's just like a crazy ambitious thing. It doesn't seem ambitious now, but you go back to a world where no one has a computer. Computers aren't even like these friendly things that are easy to use. I mean, it's kind of ambitious, but it's also like it's a little
it's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
It is, but also there's some luck in that. You can't just want that to be a
completely.
thing that happens and then it happens. Like, we actually saw a need for it, and so we all bought into it.
Right,
And he saw that there was going to be a need for it. Because, like, there was a... Do you know what a theremin is?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
noise thing.
They thought that was going to take over TVs. They thought every family was going to have a theremin.
Oh, wow.
But then also people were just like, what? No, that's not going to happen. And so,
Right.
like, the computer actually just happened to be a thing that we did need.
Yeah, he's brilliant to know that, but also he kind of like took some shortcuts. I guess the big thing him and Paul Allen did is they made BASIC for this computer. BASIC already existed, but this new computer called the Altair, they didn't have BASIC, so they created a BASIC compiler for that computer, which is pretty intense thing to do. But then DOS, which is installed on every IBM computer, they bought it from him, but he kind of like took that from this other guy, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of cases where Bill Gates has done shady stuff, and it's like that quote by Maya Angelou: "When someone tells you who they are, believe them."
Right.
And another thing the guy talks about in the book I mentioned is how he took like shares, the ownership shares from Paul Allen, who he co-founded Microsoft with. Like, let's say it was 60-40. Paul Allen agreed too quick, so Bill Gates comes on and he's like, actually, let's do 70-30. And because he was like so aggressive, he just wanted more and more of his own ownership shares,
Right,
and just like over time continued to dilute his co-founder's shares. And it's like, why are you being a dick, man?
Right. and like the guy who created DOS, like this guy did a lot. He was like the guy that would be Bill Gates. His name is, I think, Gary. But
That's exactly. I think his name is... What is his name?
But to be fair, I mean, every successful person has something there. Like Thomas Edison didn't invent like 200 patents.
Right.
He stole a majority of the patents.
Absolutely.
And, you know, not like
McDonald's.
People always think capitalism pushes innovation, but sometimes it also stops innovation. Just as because like this guy Gary Kildall was his name. He kind of was computers were open source at that point.
Yeah.
So Bill Gates did say when DOS came to him, he said Gary has what you need. It didn't work out with Gary, so Bill then bought DOS from this other guy who copied it from Gary. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the guy Gary sued IBM. They offered his operating system on some computers, but it's just one of those things where like, some things, steel, railroads, and I guess computing, you just know this is the thing, and people who want to control the world. Because it's one thing to want to be rich. It's another thing to want your thing in every household. That will make you rich, but it's not about being rich at that point, right?
Some people are jerks. Like this, we're getting way off, but and this is a personal anecdote. But when I was doing colleges, to do college performance for stand up, you do these showcases, and all the student council people are at there for all the universities. They go, they see you perform, and then afterwards they book you. And it's pretty standard. There's a host, and then there's the people who go up in the showcase, and the host usually gets extra time because they have to go first. So they make up for it.
You mean like a NACA conference or something?
NACA conference, that's right. I was going up after the host, and I knew the guy. I knew the comic, Faraz. He didn't do any time up top. He just
tall
went...
Indian guy, right?
Yeah. He just was like...
Calling him out.
He told me...
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same person. Yeah.
He just went up to me right before, and he goes, "Hey, by the way, I'm not going to do any time before your set. I'm just going to bring you up." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
So he could do his time later.
So that I would warm up the crowd, not him.
Yeah, for people listening, that means basically the bullet he was supposed to take, which was to get a cold crowd, he gave that to Kat when it was his job.
Sabotaged me.
Yeah.
With a shorter set.
Even though he gets he gets more than double, 25 minutes total of performance time to my 10, but he didn't care. He goes, "Also, I'm going to sabotage you because I'm a jerk."
Right.
There's people like that
Yeah.
who see things as so competitive that it's not enough to just compete on your talent. They need to also just do whatever shady crap they can.
I would be so scared to be like, people are jerks. This specific guy, I'm going to say by name.
But if it happened, it happened.
But it did. It did. Oh,
He
no,
knows
exactly.
what he
It's a
did.
mirror to the behavior. I agree with it.
I didn't say his last name, so.
Yeah. But I mean,
We know he's tall.
there can't be that many Indian comics named Faraz.
Also, if for us listening, do your time when they tell you to do your time.
Hey, apologize to me, okay? Walk up to me
exactly.
the next time we have a show together and say, I'm sorry I was a jerk cat.
These kind of things have domino effects, you know? And like this guy, the guy who made DOS, like DOS was on every single computer. Like what Bill Gates gets credit for, he did. Just this one little thing. But still, like he's basically like the father of computing who didn't make $1 billion. Everyone, but if you read comments like Jay-Z versus Dame Dash, we are geared toward whoever wins.
Yeah.
So the victor goes to spoils. And as Americans, we will make any excuse up for someone who's rich. Mm-hmm. Part of it is that we all want to be that rich a-hole, but also we don't know how to like make it right. So it's better just to
We're told that's the game of life. It's not
Yeah.
about doing
Right,
life
right.
right. It's about collecting the most amount of money.
yeah.
CCN article says that not only is his philanthropic cause shady, but his extensive work in vaccines is laced with potential foul play. That's all in quotes, by the way. The Golden University School of Law reports that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has used tactics and resulted in numerous deaths and injuries with accounts of forced vaccinations and uninformed consent. That's also all in quotes. I did not do that, so don't sue me. Bill Gates is accused of testing unapproved drugs or unsuspecting poor people so he could save money, gather data, and potentially profit off of a patented vaccine. And he's killing people in the process again. It's quotes, so don't sue me. Gates has also been recorded saying normalcy only returns when we largely vaccinate the entire global population.
Yeah, but that sounds like the pandemic, and I think that was correct.
Yeah,
right.
But that's me. And in the Twitter trend, hashtag expose Bill Gates, one person tweeted, Bill Gates wants to control and enslave the human race with vaccines and electronic ID implants. But this is Twitter. It's not a real source. They said he already owns and controls the WHO, Fauci, Birch, and the CDC, and the UK government, and Sage.
What's Sage?
I
like a
thought it was
seasoning.
software.
Yeah, you burn it. You cleanse your house.
He controls Sage?
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't know he's that powerful.
It gets rid of the spirits and puts Bill Gates right in your house.
Who controls time or, any of these other things?
right. I put a bid in for turmeric, but we're still waiting for the.
Father controls time. Get it?
Oh.
What's up?
All right, who's to say he won't use his wealth and power to take over the entire human race?
Now, before I read my part, I'll say this. Like, okay, cool, right? But these same people are not talking about like the Koch brothers or Monsanto.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Elon
like-
Musk?
Yeah, like Monsanto, getting patents for seeds. Seeds. I know that I get it. You've modified them, so you think you own them now. But when your seed blows into another farm and it starts naturally growing, you can't sue that guy now. That's how nature.
Want to bet?
Right. Yeah. Right. Seeds fly around, and that's how we eat. So it's weird that this energy is coming up now because I feel like suddenly, like in the hood, like there's all these conspiracies, right? And a lot of it is based on like things like the Tuskegee experiment, which really did happen. But like people say, oh, don't drink that drink. It's like it'll make you sterile or all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of wacky, but some of it, you can't dismiss it all because some of it, some things have happened. But it's weird. It seems like people for years kind of like, oh, that's all crazy talk. And now, because they can sort of attach it to people they don't like or someone they think is on the left or whatever, they all buy into it. When 10 years ago, they would have said it's crazy talk. And they're not turning that toward people who are doing the same thing. That's just weird to me.
I also feel like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been around for forever, for decades at this point.
No,
And
it hasn't been that long.
it's been around a while.
No,
a lot longer than before. Like a lot of time before the pandemic.
Yeah.
But
I
not like forever.
Not okay, yeah, not like
at least
100
10 years.
years.
I think it's
but
been
at
like
least
15
within
years.
10, 15. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been around a while, but people only recently started caring because only recently were they being told to take a vaccine and
Right,
told
right.
to mask and
But-
told to
Yeah, I wasn't
do all
told
the pandemic
anything about worrying about Bill
restrictions.
Gates until the vaccine.
Absolutely.
And then it became everybody was like,
But also,
wait, what?
thing about population control is, I think,
It's not control of the number.
no, I know, but
Okay.
I think he's talked about birth control too, and because poor people, they have a right to keep repopulating themselves, but a poor person has a child that they can't afford, that really affects the quality of life going forward. But rich and middle class Americans are kind of like not having children in the same numbers. So I think there's a lot there too. Of
Don't
like,
even get me started on population. That's all I've like focused on for the last like 6 months.
and so I think some people are afraid the population numbers are gonna shift too much.
No, it's not. It's not a afraid thing. It's literally.
It's happening.
It's already happening. I mean, so in order to repopulate at our current levels is 2.1 children per female. But the problem is that in like Seoul or in Korea, South Korea, it's like 0.7. In Japan, it's like under 1.
Right.
In Western Europe, it's under 1. In America, it's under 1. The only reason America the population hasn't fallen off is because of immigration. Without immigration, we'd be screwed. And one of the reasons why China's growth rate, remember, it used to be like 7-8% every year.
Right.
The reason it's 2 to 3% is that the population is falling off, and there's too many old people, not enough young people. And everyone always says, well, why is it a problem if there's not enough people? Well, there's a couple of things. One, our economy is based on people buying shit.
Absolutely.
And there's not enough people buying shit because when you get older, you stop buying things. Second thing is innovation dies when there's no young people. Third thing is that all of a sudden you have a government that needs to take care of a lot of old people, and there are not enough young people to afford it.
Everything you're just describing is a pyramid of sorts.
Yes.
A population pyramid.
And
yes.
so the problem is that it went from like, it's going to be 10 billion people and we're all going to die because there's not enough things, to now like it's going to be like
not enough people.
Not enough people. And only places that are big are Central Africa is the only place that has enough people. Like, and then India's close, Indonesia, but like China's falling apart.
Which is probably why like abortion is being trying to
Fought against
eradicate it. But I think, do you think that's why, this is going to sound outrageous, but do you think that's why there's more like mixed couples on TV?
Because they want
Am
to
I
encourage
bugging, or
people
is
to
it-
be a little bit less restrictive
let's
in
just
who
do
they
it,
get
guys.
with.
Let's whatever
Yeah.
it takes. Let's just do it.
What's interesting, I mean, like if you look at generationally, I mean, every generation since the baby boomers have had less sex, and it's just less sex. I mean, and, like kids are having it later and later.
It's not our fault. Video games got better and better.
That's
and
exactly
porn,
right.
too, and porn. You know, it's all those things. But anyway, okay, let's go.
Okay, we all watched a video by Wake Up Sheeple that highlights some of the questionable statements Bill Gates has made. We'll put a link in our show notes. What do you guys think? That video was you can't watch things out of context. I have a joke about false confessions. When cops interrogate someone for like 12 hours and the guy's delusional, and then they get a confession, but it's kind of pieced together. You know, the guy's like, I killed my wife, because it's been edited, you know? And that's what that video was like to me. Like, I'd have to watch each one of those interviews in its entirety.
Yeah, I remember seeing something where he's like, and there's going to be a pandemic, or there's a risk of a pandemic happening. And I'm like, yeah, there's always been that. Like, we've been talking about that for a while. Like, what's going to happen when the ice caps melt? Well, it might release new viruses and we could have a pandemic. Like, I had heard that a million times, but that doesn't mean that he made the pandemic happen.
I was actually telling my son recently that one of the big changes in his lifetime has been that video is no longer evidence.
Yeah.
When we were kids, like when we saw the
yeah.
Rodney King, it was like, oh shit, they do beat black people. And it's like, it was proof, right? It was proof that everything people were saying was true. But now you see a video, you're like, okay. You know, like, I don't know what to believe, like deep fake or cut editing or.
On the flip side, like, I know that that's very impactful, but what I've also seen, especially throughout the last 8 years of the Trump era and forward, that people will believe what they want and doubt what they don't like.
No, of course.
And
yeah.
so it's like, sure, yeah, videos can be faked, but people were selectively choosing what to pay attention and what to weigh this entire time.
Right.
Yeah,
and
but
it's
video
gonna
could be evidence in a trial, for example.
Right, it can't be evidence.
It can't. It's
anymore.
no longer evidence. No longer allowed as evidence.
But
Like,
also,
Wow.
that's what computing has done. It's like everything. It's so
So Bill
customized.
Gates gave us all the evidence by giving us the internet and took it all away by making it too good.
You only get what you want to get. Like, it's studying you, so it only reinforces what you already think. You don't get. You have to actively seek out something that's different than what you already
yeah,
think. You know?
exactly.
Well, you guys, it's time to put on our thinking caps and think. Does Bill Gates want to control the population? When we return, we'll settle this once and for all and figure out what really maybe happened. Now that we've reviewed the evidence, let's give our theories. Does Bill Gates really want to control the population?
I will say one thing about any kind of dystopian future. You know, you watch science fiction movies or you read science fiction books. Like, so much has been already predicted, right? In terms of books from the 40s and 30s. Describe the internet and things like that, right? And so we have always thought that this dystopian future would be like some kind of like oppressive government takes over and, you know, we can't move freely. Not realizing that like all these changes would be willingly accepted and we would pay for them, right? Like, everyone has a Ring camera now. Everyone thinks, oh, this is going to save me. The only thing it's going to do is if you get murdered, they may be able to figure out who murdered you. People still steal your packages. They just walk up, they wave at the camera. You're not going to do anything. So,
are you the one that stole my package?
right. I've seen it. I've seen people come or they put a slight mask on. Meanwhile, probably 80% of the houses now have cameras on the front of them that they purchased. Everyone bought their own phone. You carry the chip around with you. So whatever control that will be sort of like levied against us, we are going to willingly accept it, or at least in the early stages, and we're going to pay for it. So that's why I think some of this is overbloated. Now, my theory, I think that Bill Gates fucked over a lot of people on his way to being a billionaire. I mean, he's a brilliant man. By the way, a story I never tell, I actually had an interview with Microsoft.
No, you say that. You said that 4 times.
Well, I've told you. Okay. I didn't know I told you. I don't know if I told you. But it's why I started stand-up. That's why it's important.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think he pissed off some people. And so I think the family of this Gary Kildall, who really created MS-DOS and should be, at least a billionaire, not saying he deserves all of Bill Gates' money or whatever. I think his family, they don't want him to, have done all these bad or sort of questionable business deals and also get to be this hero guy. So they're just trying to throw some shade on his name.
Oh, so they're doing a PR campaign against him.
Yes.
Oh, that's online.
Because basically when you're a billionaire and you start to give all your money away before you die, that's your way of apologizing to all the people you dicked over. I was a piece of shit, but hey, I'm going to give some money away. Mm-hmm. So the families of people he, fucked over, they're like, no, you don't get to be such a hero, so we're going to taint you. So I think it's a massive PR campaign.
That's great.
Yeah, and I don't think he's really trying to control the population. I mean, but he might be, right? Because he sees he's 3 steps ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so here's my theory. Bill Gates is not the one that is trying to control the population. It's actually Steve Jobs. I even saw an article, I was reading an article about how why PC people are better than Apple people. And then even they're like, PC people are more conservative, more old. Mac people are foodies. PC people like lower brow media. This is all propaganda. PC has always been better than Mac. And I think it's just been this is part of the Apple PC war that started when we were kids, when, there was the Apple IIc versus the PC. And so I think this is just part of that conspiracy.
Ooh, so Steve Jobs is getting back at Bill Gates for making him sound like the asshole.
Yes.
So similar to what I'm saying, but except it's Steve Jobs.
It's Steve Jobs is actually the one that's been doing this whole thing.
Interesting.
And he's also controlling the world, because you meet Apple people.
Yes.
They're I'm not an Apple. I have no Apple things in my house. You meet them, they're like, oh, I have to have my iPhone and my glasses and my fucking watch and my.
Some people are like that, but I have an iPad and a MacBook, but I have an Android. I don't.
But most people aren't like that. Most people are like, I need everything, and then you even suggest that there's a PC or Android, and they're like, they can't even they think I'm stupid.
No, my buddy will get every new thing they have.
Yeah.
And I got a new iPad, but I loaned someone money, and they were like, hey, I got this new iPad, So that's how I got paid back. So I was actually thinking of getting off of Apple. But then when someone's going to pay you back, you take it however they're going to
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
One of the best things about PC is that it's customizable, right? You could kind of put things together.
And it's open source.
It's open source.
Yes,
whereas
absolutely.
Apple's
more open source.
more open source than Apple.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple, if you don't use Apple, you can't get to the thing. I remember one of my, I'm a baseball coach, and all the Apple people send me videos of something that happens on the field. And the videos come out on my phone as like super blurry because they have to do something. I don't know what they have to do, but they have to do something different than just send me the video.
Apple has been fucking with the text messages. So if you have an Android, you don't get all the text messages correctly from Apple people.
Yeah. So we realized we had to send like a WhatsApp to me with a video for me to see it clearly, or else it was blurry. And that's an Apple thing. Apple is trying to control people, not PC. So that's my thing.
Interesting.
Okay.
But how is that controlling population? Are people just too busy with their products to bone, or like what?
Well, they're just trying to make you first they're going to get you in the cult of Apple, and then they're going to sell you something crazy and make you stupid.
I tell you, the first time I went to an Apple store, I was thoroughly annoyed. And now I'm more used to it, but I was like, I don't know if you're a genius. What's happening here? You know what I mean?
I still don't like it.
Yeah.
My theory is that Chinese aliens,
All right, good.
Very nice.
or they don't have to be Chinese aliens, but aliens Okay, I think there's aliens. They want to control the population and distract us so that we're not actually focusing on what they're doing. And so they were like, who have all Americans heard of that is powerful enough for us to scare them with? And they're like, Bill Gates.
Taylor Swift. No, I'm sorry.
Well, that's more recent. That's more recent. 4 years ago during the pandemic, it's like he's a household name, and he's got enough power and money to be a boogeyman. And so the aliens were like, this is it. We're going to pin it on them, but they're not going to be paying close enough attention to see it coming. Now, the aliens are really a metaphor. I think we do have other political adversaries on the global stage, countries that hate us. It could be Russia, China, Iran, Qatar? I don't know. But they've got a lot of money and do some
Probably
shady
Russia.
stuff.
Out of
with
all
it,
those, it's
but-
probably Russia.
Yeah.
they have teamed up, really. Like, there's also countries like Turkey where they have values and ideologies are a lot aligned with Putin, who want to see democracy go down. And so what can they do? Well, they can make you doubt your own government by making Bill Gates seem like a boogeyman and push the propaganda from there. But we'll say it's aliens, sure.
So are they trying to maybe they're the ones doing population control because if people don't take certain vaccines, then they may die.
Well, I think when you're talking about population control, I don't think he's talking about the control of like the number of kids. I think he's talking more about like being able to control what they do,
what they believe, who they vote for.
I
Because
see.
if you look at there's a really crazy thing I saw. It was from the Daily Show of people at a Trump rally, and they were wearing the American flag and all that. Like, they're so patriotic. They asked them about a dictator. Like, would you be cool with Trump as a dictator? A question like that, and they're like, "Yeah, I think we need that. We need whatever we can do to make
Trump
this
is a
country
dictator for
Christian
one
again."
day, or Biden as a president or something. Trump said he'd be a dictator day one, and then he wouldn't be after that or something. Is where it's from.
But it's icky. The whole thing is icky to me. And I've talked to people who say that even not on, like, just in person, who are like, yeah, sure, dictatorship is fine as long as I could have XYZ political agenda happen. And it's like, wow, how did you get there?
That's why I think the extreme left and the extreme right are sort of in cahoots, because you get people there by like you show a video of a guy, a person who used to be a man or, is transitioning, and he's dominating women in sports. And like, I don't know how common that is, first off.
It's not very common.
Right. It's probably not very common, but people see that and there's a knee-jerk reaction to like, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. That little thing can push people more to the right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the bathroom. I mean,
yeah.
People talk about the bathrooms like every single, but it's not an issue. It's not an issue. I mean,
I've never had it be an issue.
It's never an issue, but they make it like, because it's scary. It seems scary.
The whole world is coming to an end.
Yeah.
The only one that can save us are like people who have some common sense and they happen to be on the right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think he started with that. I think he started just as a guy who wanted to make a ton of money.
Right.
And of course, like, he got into a thing that made way more money than he ever thought he was going to make with it. And at that point, I thought he was like, I could actually control the population. I'm pro him trying to...
Because the money didn't do anything for him anymore, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Because there came a point, like, when they tried to... Remember, like, I think it was the late 90s or early 2000s when Microsoft tried to monopolize their product, and they had to be divided.
Took them to court.
The government had to divide them, and he was, like, furious. And it was, like, then he created the...
Bill and Melinda Gates.
That's when that showed up. And it was also, like, if this guy didn't... If the monopoly was a thing, like, or if he was as charitable as that foundation is, he wouldn't be against ripping apart his monopoly. But now that he's getting his monopoly ripped apart,
great
he's
point.
like, ever since then, all of a sudden he's 99.96. Also, if you are that rich and you can just donate that 99, let's say 0.8, and you're still that rich, but you get to live in the world, you get to actually see what your money did. You can live in the utopia, and he's still choosing not to, is because he still needs poor people to manipulate and control. Right? No, because he could stop that now. And he could be the guy that did it and have a statue everywhere of himself, of just like, oh, look, I'm the guy that solved all of these problems because I have so much of the world's money.
Well, okay, so to be fair, real quick, because I worked in a nonprofit for a really long time, and one of the problems with Gates Foundation or a lot of these foundations is that they artificially flood a market. So, like, for example, they become like these organizations become dependent on the money, and then they also don't end up solving the problems. They just exacerbate.
And it can lead to
problems.
Inflation of sorts.
Yeah, so like it's hard to like so even if he gave all his money, it's like it doesn't really solve the problem.
But the other thing is like, okay, that's great. Maybe he has good intentions, but My man Gary.
Gary's
Take care of his people. You know
care
what I mean? Yeah. He died in like, I think 94, but take care of Gary.
There's only
Take care
one
of Gary's
super rich
people.
person I ever saw that I was like, never saw in person. But there was like, that person's not trying to control the world. Because I think all super rich people are trying to control the world. Except for Tom from MySpace, who got his money and went, you know what? I'm gone.
He was just trying to
Yeah.
get laid. That's what Tom was trying.
Yeah, and he got everything he wanted and went, you know, I'm going to go home forever.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, also, like, we make fun of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, but there's no Steve Jobs Foundation in the same way, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Like,
Closest thing he did
I
was
mean,
Pixar.
Elon Musk is not doing the same thing. You know, like, I mean, like, a lot of the one of the biggest criticisms of the boomer generation is that they hold wealth, right? And one of the things of like that earlier generations of wealthy people, Rockefellers or all those guys, was that they did give a lot of money away. I mean, almost every nonprofit was started by that generation. And then what every nonprofit's struggling with is that their kids aren't
They're
giving
not
the money.
giving it.
And then
Why?
Well, because that generation holds the money. That's why, like, one of my favorite books is called The Sociopath Generation. They call the boomers the sociopath because they've held the money.
wanna read that.
They've
Yeah.
like held the money. I mean, think about like before 1964. The United States government was always, we were never in debt.
Right.
Like, we had to pay our debt off. It wasn't until Vietnam we paid our World War II debt. And what did they do? They fucking exploded it so much that, like, you know, we could never pay off our debt.
Right,
now.
right.
And who pays that? It's like the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids.
That's why, like,
Right.
England had to reset. And I know people hear the word reset, and that has a bad connotation too. But England had that. I guess you would call it a feudal system. But they had to like really tax the lords and all of that because they had everything, and there was nowhere to go. So they had to. I mean, they're still, their families are still rich.
I mean, yeah,
but-
the Rockefellers were still rich.
Yeah,
They're super
yeah.
still rich, but they were still giving away money. They were still doing things.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and it by no means am I saying that they were doing it totally nobly, right? And they're like, but on some level, they were trying to do things and helping. And they started think about every major art museum in the United States was started by that generation.
Yeah.
Every major nonprofit was started by that generation. And, you know, like, I mean, I was in a nonprofit board where we have conversations where, okay, this person whose parents started it, we have to talk to their kids. And then when you talk to the kids, they're not interested. They don't want to be there. They don't want to fund it. They don't want to do anything, even though they have as much money as their parents did.
So at this point in the show, it's time for us to pick the unofficial official story, one that will answer this question once and for all. So which one do we want to go with, you guys?
So to review, Aaron, yours is that he is controlling the population.
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
Okay. Which I don't hate.
And all rich people do too. That's kind
Yeah,
of
all rich people are
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
competing for
I
it. But
d-
he
I
also
don't-
controls the knowledge and shit. You know, like he controls our
right.
source of how to find out.
I don't hate that. That's why, like, if you, from what I hear, if you ever go to a porn site, you know,
Wait, can you tell me where those are so I can make sure never to go to them?
What is that? I don't know
Wait,
what those are.
I'm your accountability partner.
right. No, what I mean is that, like, some of those categories are for people who, like, have exhausted all the other categories. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
And now they need, and you know, I'm like, whoa, that's over the deep end, right?
If you were to be on one of those sites.
Yeah, if you were. So I think with billionaires, there is this thing of like, there is something boring about having no struggle, right? You have enough money to buy anything you want. You can do anything you want. And then, so there's a new challenge, right?
That's like Epstein's Island.
Yeah, that's why these rich people gamble. like-
Nice.
yeah, like
Right,
Epstein's
I mean-
Island. And that's another thing with like that island. It's like, you know, I've never been, so I don't know the deal. It's like a puffy party. It's like not everyone at a puffy party did crazy things because some people didn't go upstairs. Some people didn't go to the third floor. Some people didn't go in that room, you know. And I don't know if, like, it's sort of like we become like, if you were at that party, then you did something crazy. If you were on Epstein's Island.
It sounds like you were on the island.
No, I'm just wondering.
How do you know there's a third floor?
I'm just
Okay,
being
so and your
arbitrary.
theory was it's
My theory
other
was
guy.
that it's the family of Gary Kildare,
Das
from saying his
guy.
name.
Yeah.
Das guy. Or it could be anyone, but anyone he screwed over.
Yeah. And mine was Steve Jobs is actually controlling the world.
Right,
He's actually
right.
trying to control it, but he's blaming Bill Gates. And yours
And
is
mine was aliens.
Aliens.
All right, so who are you going to vote for?
That's
Cat.
tough. You know what? I like the apple. I like the apple theory. I like the apple theory.
I'm voting for the Apple one too because it's mine.
Okay.
All right, Dwayne.
Let's see what Aaron votes.
Aaron, what are you going
Oh, as
for?
the people pleaser, I was hoping it would already be settled.
Yeah, this is part of helping you get out of that.
So
yes.
it's 2-0 right now.
No, I actually really like the idea of the MS-DOS still coming back. Like, still chasing, getting the revenge.
Okay.
I like
okay.
revenge. I love blood. Let's do it.
I like that. So I know I put you on the spot because if you
I'm fine with it.
if you picked yours, I was gonna go with yours. I was actually
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
But I'll go with Koji's which is similar to mine,
Yeah.
and also we won't end in a tie. And I don't. It's not like I really trust Apple. Like when a PC breaks down, you can kind of do something about it. When an Apple breaks down, it's just like
You gotta get a new one.
sorry, bro. But apples don't get viruses as much, so that's
So they last longer. They do last longer.
Yeah.
And you know what?
they-
Even though I did vote for
as much as they
Koji's,
cost, they should last longer.
even though I did vote for Koji's, I secretly still believe mine. Easy to say that.
All right.
But I also think it could just be that he is doing this, but
Yeah.
maybe not in a super nefarious way. But
It's just like in a greedy kind of fucker way. And that is the official story. We'll take another break, and then when we return, we'll figure out the first thing each of us would decree if we achieved world domination.
let's imagine we all took over the world. What would each of us decree first? Really, really tough.
I would make the Asians the overlords.
Really?
I mean, for no personal reasons. I'm just
Not one?
not
one.
not one. Just
Right.
just throwing it out.
What was
there.
crazy is I also would make the Asians the overlord. Because people hate the overlords.
Oh God, this is such a girl answer. I do not pass the Bechdel test, you guys. I want a husband. First things first. I would have a competition of who gets to be my partner.
Like the Bachelorette kind of thing.
That's
the
right.
whole world.
The whole world.
Nice.
I have a competition who wants to be married to the overlord. And, it'll be fun. It'll be a whole thing. I think we should have one of those like Japanese obstacle courses where they jump and they fall in the water. I think that should be part of it.
I think dating shows should be more like Wipeout. That is correct.
Yeah, I think so too.
I forgot the name.
I feel like I just have a list of things. But a list of things, I'll give you one or two examples, but they're all punishable by death.
Ooh.
Like, for instance, for this first one, if you're under 5'3", we'll let it slide.
Jeez. So I'm at the cutoff.
Well, maybe 5'5", I don't know. But if you put luggage in the top, overhead luggage, not in the way they told you. Meaning, if you don't put the wheels first, or if you don't put the wheels first, death.
Oddly specific.
When the luggage is coming out and everyone's getting their luggage, you have to. We're gonna draw a line around it.
Well, you got world domination. You just got pet peeves that you want to take care of.
Yeah, but these pet peeves have bigger implications because they just tap into general empathy and consideration. So if we teach you these, hopefully it'll spill over to other things. So when the wheel is spinning around, the luggage wheel, you have to stand. There's a line. It's about 3 feet away, and you can't cross that line until you see your luggage.
This is the most comedian
Right.
thing I've ever heard someone
And
say.
if you do cross that line without your luggage being there, death. I was in the airport, right? This guy got his luggage and stood right there. And he's on his phone, and I'm giving him a pass. I'm like, he must be waiting for another piece of luggage. Now, he should wait a little bit behind, but maybe it's coming right after. 5-10 minutes, and then he just leaves. He just chose to do his computing and texting right there. You see what I'm saying? So we have a list of these things, and they're all punishable, but by death.
Man, I feel like I'm so liberal. I'm like a 4-day work week, basic income.
That's not bad. That's
I
actually
want
pretty good.
I just want people to sleep more. I want everyone to sleep more so we can all just be less tense.
I feel like I wasted mine. That's a really good. Yeah.
I wasn't killing anyone. He'd be less stressed about it because he's like, on my sleep day?
Right. One thing you tap into is there's more money than people think, and like even when COVID happened, they were giving money. Like even people are always like, no wealth redistribution. That's how England was saved. That's what the world wars are. Some version of that. It's like Monopoly. And excuse me if I'm infringing on a joke because I know Zoltan may have a similar joke, but. You're playing Monopoly, and like one guy clearly won. Mm-hmm. The only thing to do is to start another game.
Did you know the game of Monopoly was to teach children
Not
why
to.
that's bad?
Is that right?
Yeah, but
Interesting.
instead, as Americans, we're like, this is the rules of our country.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to change my decree if I can.
Oh, you can't. You already did the airport thing.
Because I'm thinking now. Because I
Different
might
part of the airport now.
right.
Now we know what we would each decree first.
By the way, can I just say that Dwayne missed the most important thing that happens in the airport that's annoying?
What's that?
Are the people that want to, like, they get up right when the plane lands and they try to get forward.
Oh no,
that's
no,
worse
I
than
don't-
everything you just
No,
said.
I only gave you a small list. Of course, that's punishable by death.
I just want to make sure.
Because no one in the history of life has made it from the back of the airplane to the front of the airplane doing that I'm going to get up and walk real fast move. And then so some guy does it and he gets like 4 rows and you're like, are you happy? Are you proud of yourself?
I had the funniest thing. We were coming back from Chicago from a baseball tournament, and it was Southwest flying into Burbank. And this lady got up and went like 6 rows. Like we were I sit in the back because I know in Southwest and
You can
Burbank,
exit through the
I
back.
can go to the
Yeah, right.
So I knew it. That's why I sat back there. But this woman didn't, and so she like booked it up like halfway.
Oh, that's perfect.
And then like,
And she's stuck.
and then
on
she got
both.
stuck on both sides.
Yeah.
That's great.
Because that's why, like, and then I think, like, we all kind of looked at each other and we kind of let her go past everybody. And then we all just got up and we turned around. Because she was in the second to last row. That's the funniest thing. She was
Right.
like, she would have been the first people out. One of the
Yeah.
first people
She
out.
was in the back first class
Yeah.
in a way.
Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
There you go. Anyways, thank you, Aaron, for coming on with us. Please tell us where people can follow you and listen to your show.
Sweet. I mean, you can get Putting Up with Aaron Michael Marsh anywhere you get podcasts. And then I'm at Aaron M. Marsh on everything.
There you go.
Boom.
Thank you so much for listening. There was almost 3 million podcasts, and we're honored you've chosen ours to listen to. Please check out our website, unofficialofficialstory.com, for show notes or to hear past episodes. Please follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
And we'd love to hear from you. You can send us a message by clicking on the Contact Us button on our website, or even leave us a voicemail. Click on the microphone button at the bottom of the page. Tell us what we got right, or tell us what we got wrong. Tell us how much you love or hate us, or if there's a topic you think we should cover. Or do you think you'd make a perfect guest? Let us know.
Yes, and please consider writing a review of our show on the platform you use to listen to this podcast. We know it's a pain in the butt, but it does go a long way in helping the show. It helps us reach new listeners, grow our show, and most importantly, it enables us to keep putting out the content that we hope you enjoy.
Please join us next month when we celebrate the anniversary of the UFO sighting in Rua, Zimbabwe, by asking, did aliens visit Zimbabwe to tell children the world was ending?
Have you guys even heard of this case?
I
I've
have
never
not.
heard
No.
of this.
Oh, okay. This is going to be really interesting. I mean, what's really funny is that a lot of the UFO and alien abduction stories are very Western, like
Like a lot of the famous ones are England or United States. But like this is one of the most famous cases, and it happens to be in Africa. So I think it's a
Interesting.
really interesting case.
You ever see that movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy?
Yes.
Great
Oh, yeah.
movie. Great movie.
But that was not
Just made me think of this. I know, but it made me think of it. Yeah. They didn't know what it was, right?
Yeah, that's true. It could have been aliens.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.